Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anuj. I'm going to be speaking slightly slow because I understand Indians are known to speak English very, very fast. So people don't understand a lot of times. So I'm going to be speaking slowly. My name is Anuj Tandon. I'm part of the team at Jetapult. I'm actually CEO of Gaming of Jet Synthesis. We are the largest investors in Jetapult, and I'm part of the board. So just give a quick introduction of the team. Start with myself. I've been a gaming founder back in 2010 at Krafton, PUBG. I was head of investments. I've invested over $135 million in India and Middle East in gaming and media and entertainment. So founder, executive, investor, seen all sides of the gaming industry in a certain way. Right now, I'm CEO of Gaming of Jet Synthesis. Like I said, largest investors in Jetapult. The founders are Sharan and Yash. Sharan is worked at Google Play in India and Australia. He literally set up the indie games accelerator program, and he was the main guy who built gaming studios and accelerated their revenue in the region. And we also have Yash, who is going to speak later, but he's the money guy in the team. He basically leads the investments. So he has experience in VC as one of the partners and principals at 𝗡𝗲𝘅𝗶𝗲𝘁 and Aeon and others. So I'm just going to talk about the scenario of mobile gaming in 2024. So 2024, we have four main factors in mobile gaming right now, right? There was a COVID boom that happened when you had all the revenues, engagement, numbers that went up. And 2023 actually has been one of the toughest years for gaming globally. You have seen the most number of layoffs happening in gaming globally, and the revenues have sort of stabilized. It doesn't mean for emerging markets like India, Middle East, and Southeast Asia, things are still better, but globally, the gaming consumption has fallen down. Then, and part of it is also a factor of IDFA and ATT, where user acquisition has become even tougher, and the investment landscape and big tech trends have changed a lot in the last 4 years. So like I said, the COVID boom and bust, we all saw all the revenues going up in 2020, 2021. People were at home, they were playing more games, spending more on games, and that has now stabilized, right? Stabilized means for some countries, people are still spending more on games, but globally, the consumption and engagement has fallen down from its peak. What that means is that the earnings are lesser. You are sort of, people, at least large studios, are canceling a lot of their new games, etc. And similarly, it's with not just with engagement and downloads, it's also there with the revenue. Although 2024, things are starting to pick up back again, but we are almost back to 2019, 2021 in the revenue levels. So this is also, I think, which has impacted our industry the most, is user acquisition has become a black box. You cannot target users, say in US, iOS, without effectively having a very increased cost of UA, right? This has led to a lot of strategical shift in how you think about mobile gaming as an industry. It is not the 2015-16 scenario where you could just launch a game, get organic downloads, and then make profitable business, right? It has shifted. So you need to be a little more thoughtful on the games that you're making, the UA strategy, and the overall. And that's the summary is difficulty in ad targeting has made, even some genres of gaming unviable. For example, hyper-casual games. And in 2020, 21, 22, there was one of the largest years of investments globally in the gaming industry. There was, I had never known so many VC funds existed for mobile gaming, right? I just knew 2 when I was raising capital back in 2011. But now you have specialized funds investing into the mobile gaming sector as well as gaming. And if you look in the last 1 year, like 2021, 22, it was all about, a lot of people raising massive capital. But now, in last 1 year, there's not been a single mobile gaming investment done by the top tier funds in developed markets. All the investment, although, is coming to emerging markets. That's where people are still investing. And yes, the big tech trends. We all know crypto gaming was the flavors of the season in 2 years back. Everyone was doing a Web3 game and they got funded. Somehow things are still stable there with the Bitcoin prices fluctuating, but it's not dead. But I think we will still don't have a Web3 game that has defined the technology as the consumer platform. For example, we don't have a Pokemon Go like we had of an AR. We don't have that in Web3 yet. That has mass consumer adoption there. And Gen AI, yes, it is disrupting the supply chains in gaming. What that means is game development is becoming more and more commoditized. Again, what I mean by that is if you have to develop a concept art, you could take 3 man days to complete a concept art for a 2D game. Now you can do that in 1 day. So the efficiency has improved, and it is also making a lot of changes happening for global gaming large publishers. So when we talk about now in this scenario of 2024, how does an indie studio or a young studio sort of think about growth? One is you want to grow your games. You want to grow your games and you are dependent on organic growth. But that is more of a praying to God strategy rather than actual strategy. Because if you're dependent only on organic growth for your games, that means you are betting the Apple and Google gods who control the App Store and the Play Store will bestow their blessings on you. That is not a good strategy to be thinking about in 2024. That era has passed. Unless you are making upwards of, say, $40,000 or $50,000 per month in in-app purchase, Google and Apple from 2025 onwards will not give you organic downloads. Yes, that's going to happen. They will not say it, but that's going to happen. Because the more and more the platforms are going to be promoting people who are going to be generating revenue for them as platforms. So that is a scenario young developers have to be prepared for, right? And you have to find capital partners to get you that inorganic growth. So typically, when then as a game developer, you start thinking, how do you sort of strategize to grow, right? You have publishers, you have VCs, you have UF financing, you have consultants who you go reach out to. Publishers typically will provide you UA capital. Mobile gaming, I have not seen publishers funding game development. They will not fund it. Like in console and PC, you still have publishers that will fund your game development. But in mobile, they will ask for soft launch numbers. They will ask for numbers which are there for calculating ROAS. They will give you UA financing if you are making money. But there is an initial risk of game development that the studios will have to take, right? And they will probably take your revenue share once you have a publishing deal set, revenue shares are what you usually give to the publishers. VCs is more about giving you capital for equity. And when you run on that VC treadmill, which I had, you either are a $1 billion company or you're nothing, right? So you have to keep sort of running that treadmill and give an outsized return to the VC fund. So in that sense, as a game development studios, we all know one game doesn't, you're very lucky if your first game works. It doesn't happen. You have to keep trying. And you need multiple tries to build an IP, to build chops of publishing, etc. So I think in that sense, VCs are a good option only if you're thinking of a very, very long-term based company. And then there are companies that provide UA financing, which is, again, hands-off capital. That means they will provide you capital, but they have high interest rate. It's like taking a loan from the bank to run UA financing. Again, the risk is on the entrepreneur. And then you have consultants who will help you in telling you, okay, this is how you need to do your economy design, this is how you need to do your meta gameplay, etc. for global markets. So you can use so when you're an entrepreneur thinking, okay, I'm building a game studio, who can I reach out for help? These are the probable 4 things that you get in mind, and then you start prioritizing and reaching out. So the team at Jetapult, sort of saw this and saw the good and the bad, and decided to build a structure to help game studios to be useful. So what Jetapult does is they are long-term investors. They're not short-term investors. That means they will believe in the studio and partner with the studio long-term. There is no revenue share, obviously. They are not just dumb capital. That means I'll just give you the money. It is capital plus expertise, help, and everything that a studio needs to succeed in the long term, and the founders for them to succeed, which includes support with all kinds of, and I'll just speak about that. So the expertise lies in building tech infrastructure. For example, you have a server for a multiplayer game which can only hold 2,000 people. So, and you do not have the server backend engineering effort to build that. So Jetapult will help you with providing that technical expertise to scale up that game in different regions. Jetapult can help you with monetization designs. For example, in Middle East, the ARPPU of users is same as Japan, right? So it's very, very high. But how do you translate your game to Arabic and reach out with the relevant culturalization? All of this is not available to, say, a Vietnamese-based developer, but at Jetapult, we have that expertise. And all of the other aspects of game development and publishing that you would require to be successful. These are some of the consultants that Jetapult works with. They are on board of Jetapult Advisory, which include people from wargaming, people who designed EA, FIFA, from Fallout, the guys who delivered Farmville from Zynga, and it's a pretty global Japanese, American, Chinese, and Indian teams that are helping all the game, and you will have direct access to these people for any of your game development and publishing query. And another factor of Jetapult is to provide centralized business development. When I was working at Yuzu, we worked on a game for an IP called Game of Thrones, right? So the complicated IP integration into games, and we all understand once your game is successful, one of the largest factors to increase your revenue is doing live ops with IP integration. All big games do it, but how to structure deals like that? How do you calculate your lifetime value versus what is the revenue share that you need to do, right? All of this requires, for a first-time founder, it requires a lot of thinking, learning on the job, etc. I think all of this, because of a centralized business development, not just with IP partners, with, say, Apple, Google, even cloud tech partners, this can be solved very easily with Jetapult. And of course, tools and non-core services is included as a package deal. If you're working with multiple developers and you group up, you get better rates when you negotiate all of this. So I think this is something which I stressed upon, that Gen AI is disrupting the supply chain of gaming. What that means is factors such as creating of live ops. For example, there are now tools available for you to design in-app purchases. That means even live ops to a certain extent, because of your data available of so many games, is being disrupted. So it's become very essential for game developers to be cognizant of the fact that you have to work with Gen AI, not against it, and embrace it to how you can expand your revenue on your games. And I think more and more game publishers and large gaming companies are embracing all of these factors. For example, balancing your game economy, for example, creating, like I said, concept designs to characters, to environments, using tools that are available. But learning all of this one by one just delays your game development and your learnings as a studio. So what Jetapult provides is, it provides contextualized Gen AI solution for studios. What that means, again, is there is a centralized team. If you have a shooter game and you want to create 10 weapons, right? And you want to create 10 weapons in 100 man days. It takes your team of 20 people to generate that in 100 man days. Jetapult can provide you a solution using Gen AI, using third-party tools, again, to create that solution within, say, 50 days or 60 days. That's how, you don't have to worry about the Gen AI stuff. They will sort of take care of a contextual-based solution. Now, I've spoken a lot about what Jetapult can do, but what is Jetapult can take, right? There's always a give and take in business. So I'll just maybe give you an example of how Jetapult works as a business model, right? What does a studio do? It does everything by itself. It gives the ownership is with the founders. The goal is to sustain. You are using your profits. You reinvest them back into your company, and you keep growing, right? It's a great lifestyle business. The way you create value for yourself and your employees is through salary, is through dividends, is through profits, right? That's how you create value for yourselves. Whereas if the studio joins Jetapult, it is more like adding a co-founder to the company, which means that yes, you will be giving away 51%, but there are 3 large exit opportunities. One is upfront. There will be some dollar provided as for taking that majority. There will be primary equity, which means you'll be getting capital to grow the company. You will be getting dividend payout. You will be also, this Jetapult as a group company will also IPO, so you will have multiple opportunities to exit the business and create value for yourself and for all your employees. So it's a 3-tier staged exit for gaming founders. It's very unique in that sense. So that is what the business model at a high level of Jetapult looks like. And this is from the operational perspective. What would you expect if you partner with Jetapult? What would you expect them to do, right? So right now, everything is founders' responsibility is to manage everything, right? With Jetapult, you can leave away some non-core parts which you think, and again, this is not a generalized solution, it's a bespoke. That means we can design based on what you feel is right. Suppose you are interested in Gen AI. Okay, you run with that. But Jetapult will help you support with other things, such as UA, such as publishing. So it is a bespoke solution where you join the Jetapult platform, you have value creation, and you have operational freedom to do what you do best, which is create awesome games. And that's my time. Thank you so much, guys.